Okay, so good day class. So today we're going to discuss about SPP document 206, which is the standard of professional practice on comprehensive architectural services. So the keyword here class is comprehensive, meaning it's composed of a variety of um, skills. So for the introduction, so the concept of comprehensive architectural services crystallized through the years in response to the demands of emerging complex building projects. So the transition of the architectural profession from providing basic and additional services that of a comprehensive nature is due to the realization that continuation of services related to design and construction is necessary for the execution of a completely viable project. So comprehensive architectural services refers to the range of professional services that covers pre-design, regular design services, specialized architectural services, construction services, and post-construction services. I think we have already discussed these services class in the past, so we're just going to read through it. Okay, so in this extended dimension, the architect is the prime professional. He functions as the creator, author, and coordinator of the building design, which becomes the basis of the construction of a project. So in order for him to be able to properly assist and serve his client, the architect has to be knowledgeable in other fields in addition to building design. So the architect is not expected to perform all the services. Rather, he is to act as the agent of the client in procuring and coordinating the necessary services required by a project. So for the pre-design services, so we have your consultation, feasibility studies, site selection analysis, site utilization, architectural programming, space planning, space management studies, value management, design brief, preparation, and promotional services. Then for the regular design services, we have here the project definition phase, the schematic design phase, the design development phase, the contract documents phase, the bidding or negotiation phase, and the construction phase. For the specialized architectural services, of course, you have the architectural interiors, acoustic design, architectural lighting and layout design, site development planning, site and physical planning services, comprehensive development planning, historic and cultural heritage conservation, building systems design, facilities maintenance support, building testing and commissioning, building environmental certification, forensic architecture, building appraisal, preliminary services, contract documentation and review, post-design services, dispute avoidance, architectural research methods, building components, management of architectural practices. For the construction services, I think we have discussed this class. You have here the full-time supervision services and the construction management services, which is SPP 204 and 204 B respectively. So for the post-construction, you have also the building facilities administration and the post-construction evaluation. Okay. Now let's go into project management. So by his education and training, the architect may perform any or all of the services as stipulated under section 2 above. However, when the owner hires an architect or a firm to coordinate the whole range of comprehensive architectural services, this constitutes project management. So project management involves management activities over and above the normal architectural and engineering services carried out during the pre-design, design, and construction phase. So the overall objective is to have control over time, cost, and quality relative to the construction of a project. So the presence of a project manager does not relieve the designers and contractors of their respective normal duties and responsibilities in the design and construction of the project. The project manager complements the functions of the architects, engineers, and contractors in meeting the broad and complex requirements of projects. Okay, now let's go to the project manager. So the project manager, whether it's an individual or firm, operates as a member of the owner, architect, engineer, contractor team. So in the team approach, each member of the team will have precedence in his own field of operations or expertise in accordance with this principle. The first is the architect and the specialist consultants will have prime responsibility for the planning and design of the project. Number two, the engineers will be responsible for their respective engineering plans. The contractor shall be responsible for his men and equipment and the delivery of the project. Then the owner makes decisions on the project and assures that funds are available to complete the project. So the project manager's primary responsibility is the exercise of overall cost control. He will plan, program, and monitor the various activities and act as an advisor on material cost and construction methods. For the pre-construction phase, as early as during the design development phase, perhaps even concurrently with the architect's commission, the project manager should conduct regular consultations with the owner and with the architects and engineers on all aspects of planning on the project. So on the construction phase, if the project manager also serves as the construction manager, he will oversee the time, cost, and quality control during the construction of the project. So he shall provide the services detailed under SPP documents 204A and 204B. So these are the manner for providing services. The first is normally the architect enters into a contract with the owner to perform comprehensive architectural services. By the very nature of the services, he assumes the dual role of the project manager and the construction manager, or effectively the overall coordinator whose functions are outlined under the SPP. So to perform the variety of services indicated under comprehensive architectural services, the architect must make full use of his own capability as well as of services offered by other professionals. He may expand his staff by hiring the expert needed, or he may form a team consisting of professionals such as but not limited to architects, engineers, market analysts, accountants, general contractors, real estate consultants, sociologists, planners, bankers, and lawyers. So if a project manager is hired by the owner, it may be the responsibility of the project manager to either hire the construction manager to be paid either by him or directly by the owner on salary or on the basis of percentage of construction cost, or to serve as the PCM himself. So in like manner, the full-time supervisor can either be a staff of the PM or hired directly by the owner. For the methods of compensation, the project manager is compensated on a percentage basis, so as shall be described in the architect's guidelines. So if the architect as project manager performs regular design services for the same project, he shall be compensated separately for these services as stipulated in SPP document 202. Okay? Then we're going to discuss also about my most favorite service that architects can offer, which is the design build services. This is SPP document 207 class, formerly UAP document 207. So for the introduction class for design build, so in any building project, there is a need to balance the element of time, quality, and cost, which in many cases can be best achieved by the architect performing design build services. So the building industry and the architectural profession have devised several methods of project delivery with the ultimate goal of handling projects in the shortest possible time and the lowest possible cost and at an acceptable quality and performance. So an architect, with his education, training, and expertise, qualifies him to take a direct role in the project from conceptualization to implementation. So design build services simplifies and expedites the process of project delivery while providing creative, cost-effective solutions. So the architect renders professional services in the implementation of his design. In design build services, he assumes the professional responsibility and civil liability for both the design and construction of the project. So the scope of the design build services, we have the project definition phase. If it's design build by administration, of design project definition phase, schematic design, design development, contract documents, and the construction phase. So when the various phases of the design services are completed, the construction phase goes beyond periodic inspection and assessments which includes the following. So the first is the preparation of the schedule of work, program and estimates of materials, labor, transportation, equipment, and services as reference for the construction. Second, the organization and hiring of construction personnel, designation of duties and remunerations. Third, the negotiation and entering into contract with piecework contractors and evaluation of work accomplishment. So when you say piecework contractors, class, you have some contractors who will work on the lightings, who will work on the sanitary and plumbing systems, or work on the electrical systems, or work on the acoustic systems, depending on the complexity of the project that you're going to build. Included also are the procurement of materials, plants and equipment, licenses and permits, authorizing and undertaking payments of accounts, keeping records and books of accounts, negotiation with government and private agencies having jurisdiction over the project, the management of all other business transactions related to the project construction and implementation. Then there's also a design build service with guaranteed maximum project construction cost. So this method is essentially the same as design build services by administration, except that the owner or client is provided a guaranteed maximum project construction cost for the construction of the project. Then the owner client is given an estimate of the project, and upon completion, if there is realized savings from the estimated project, if there is realized savings last from the estimated project, usually the owner and the architect and the design build will split the savings, or it should be equally divided. So the project construction cost is guaranteed by the architect not to exceed 10% of the estimated project construction cost. Should the actual cost exceed the estimated project construction cost plus 10%, the architect shall be liable for the excess amount, but only up to the amount of his administration fee. Should there be additional expenditures beyond the guaranteed maximum project construction cost, which are due to legitimate change variation orders, extra work orders, substantial escalation of prices of the cost of materials or labor as evidenced by the data certified by a nationally recognized agency such as the NEDA, or to other causes not attributable to the fault of the architect, the additional cost shall be borne by the client. Okay? Then for the manner of providing services, for the manner of providing services, the architect may be involved in construction including that of his own design by adopting an arrangement different from the general way of bidding out projects to constructors, or from the different modes of design build services. Such an arrangement may take the form of any of the following. The first, that the architect is part or a member of the entity constructing his design. He works in tandem with or has authorized an entity to construct his design. The second is that the architect is himself a state licensed contractor implementing his design or that of others. So in adopting any of the above arrangements or any acceptable variation thereof, the architect must strictly adhere to the following. So the first is that the architect must retain his separate, distinct professional identity, prerogatives, and integrity as an architect, and is therefore subject to the standards and tenets of the SPP, particularly document 200, otherwise known as the Code of Ethical Conduct, and SPP document 202. Okay? Then the second, whatever mode the architect adopts in being involved in construction, he must strictly adhere to the tenets of the architect's credo with the pledge that he shall disclose whenever required any business investments or venture that may tend to create a conflict of interest, and ensure that such conflict neither compromises the legitimate interests of the client nor interfere with his duty to render impartial judgment. For the methods of compensation, The manner of payment to the architect follows the progress of construction. All costs for labor and materials are paid directly by the client. The architect does not advance any money for payment or of expenditures connected with the work. Generally, a revolving fund is given to the architect beforehand and is accounted for and subject to periodic auditing by the client. Cost of all permits, licenses, and other incidentals to the work are paid by the owner or the client, so the architect may appoint, subject to the owner or client's approval, a construction superintendent, purchasing agent, timekeeper, and property clerk, aside from the usual labor personnel required. Salaries of such persons are paid by the owner or the client and not deductible from the architect's fee under this SPP. So the methods of compensation may be modified by using the relevant alternatives in SPP document 202. Okay? So I think that's it for the design build services class. Okay? Which is SPP document 207. So that's why class, my advice for you in the future is not only to focus on designs but also on the construction as well, because you'll never be a complete architect until the time comes when you can build what you are thinking of. Okay? So you have to possess the technical capability to build your designs. Otherwise, um, you won't. And no, it's just for me. But I think if you can't build what you are drawing, like, then you there's no difference between you and an artist. Okay? So as an architect class, you are a technical person um, in the field of not only design but also construction as well. So if we define architecture, architecture is the art and science of constructing and designing buildings. So it means that as an architect, you should be able also to build whatever that you're going to design on paper. Okay? So if you have any further clarifications, class, especially about the design build service or SPP document 206, you can email me anytime or contact me. So I'll always respond to your queries. For me, my most favorite SPP document is SPP document 207, because I think the architect should be the best person to implement whatever he designs on paper. So when you build something, you try to you transcend the ideas you wrote on paper into something that is tangible and visible to the eyes of the clients and to the eyes of the community. Okay, in such a way, I think you can impact society also through the way you design. Okay, so see you next week, class, and stay safe.